Good morning. Welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it's the 5th day of March 2024. And welcome to Tatar Tuesday. And bring on my esteemed guest, John Tater. Hey, John, how you doing? I got to find my potato head. It's over. It got restacked. I'm cleaning. Yeah, I decided that I need to get rid of junk in my house and clean things out and such. And so right now I'm in mild chaos because I'm trying to get rid of stuff. So there you go. So how are you this morning?
I do know what that's all about.
Yeah, you got to clean house once in a while. I'm kind of thinking this cleaning house thing needs to extend to Lansing and say, oh, I don't know, Washington, D.C., the townships, the counties, the whole damn thing. What do you think?
Actually, we need a flushing.
A flushing would be good.
That's what we need. We need to flush them all out.
Yeah, the thing of it is that, just talking to everybody out there, I think everybody's really getting a grasp on the fact that they've committed treason. And, the entire legislature has committed treason. There was an 11-year-old little girl that was killed and by an illegal. And it's like, whose fault is it? The entirety of Congress. And and everyone that is employed as agents of theirs. So they all need to go. It's too bad.
And Biden.
The
culprit of all. He is actually the mastermind of the killing of that 11-year-old, as well as that gal who was jogging. What's her name? I don't even remember. They talked about it earlier today.
I'm not sure he's the mastermind of anything because he drools on himself. It's like, I'm kind of wondering if like the Kenyan is involved in this or somebody that's in that direction.
I'm sure it's going up the chain too. But the point of the matter is,
John froze up on us here. You there, John? Hello, John. Let's see if we can get John back here a minute.
They are. Oh, this is.
Okay, you froze up and now you're back.
Maybe we're saying the wrong things. They don't want to hear.
No. Spit out China a few times and let's see what happens.
Yeah. A couple of good things happened though this week. I don't know how many people are paying attention to what's going on, but the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that they cannot remove Trump from the ballots of any of the states of the Union. Now that's stare decisis. That's as powerful as it gets. So that's like Norton versus Shelby County, which we've talked about earlier. And the point of the matter here is that Trump can't be removed. Then the deep state has lost another major battle, that they can't take him out of certain states. And I don't know how many people know that, how many people have been listening, but it's a 9-0 decision. Can't be. I mean, that's as good as being the Constitution.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And I think a lot of people are really watching this because I don't know about you, but it seems to me like everybody out there has finally got their arms around the fact that this is an attack against President Trump, but more importantly, it's an attack against America and all of us. If they go after one of us, they've gone after all of us, and we have to stand in defense of each other. So this is a win for America that they decided to do the right thing and uphold the law. Kind of a new thing for them, seems like it's kind of a new thing, but
both sides, both the support, if you want to call them liberals, I don't know what you want to call them, the liberal judges,
Marxist usurpers.
Yes, both sides said, hey, absolutely, you cannot remove Trump from the ballot. This is powerful. This is powerful. Also, I wanted to just jump. I know you don't have it up, but I want to jump into the 8th Amendment. Of the Constitution, because it says no excessive bail shall not be required nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. Does that sound like something that's been violated left and right by the deep state over the last
egregiously?
Yes.
Egregiously violated.
How many millions of dollars are they trying to charge Trump
Extort.
to pay? And
Yes,
they're trying to say that
extortion.
he has to pay it before he can appeal, which is another violation because the first right of appeal is not fee. It's not bonded. You don't have to pay a bond or any kind of fees or fines on your first right of appeal, and yet they're violating that too. So there's two incidents right now that they're going after Trump. And of course, they're doing it to us, the people. They've been doing it to me for a long time, playing the same game, trying to make me pay a bond. I had years ago, before I was, before the light went on regarding this, I was in a court and I lost the fight. I think it was a speeding ticket. I don't know. And the judge said at that time that you have to pay $150, which just happened to be the price of the ticket, in a bond before you can appeal the case. Then they've also pulled this on a couple other people in our group that said you have to pay a bond or a fee before you can get before we will reconsider your case. So even if you've lost the case, then you can file a motion for reconsideration. They say, no, you have to pay a bond first. You have to pay that bond first. No. That's a violation of the Constitution and your rights. You do not have to pay your first right of appeal. It is a right. And that's a court case that we know, state Supreme Court, Wright versus Fields. Or maybe it's an appellate decision. I don't know. But in any way, that's
what is it called? Wright versus Fields?
Wright versus Fields.
Okay, let me.
Michigan case.
Gotta write this stuff down.
The first right of appeal. And you cannot be charged or feed or fined or bonded or anything over on the first right of appeal.
Right as in WR or RI?
WRIGHT. Wright versus Fields. I think I sent that to you also as one of the cases. So.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
So anyway, and then they're trying to pull this crap on Trump, saying that you have to post your, what is it, $500 million on these fines that they found before you can appeal the case. That's BS. That's a lie. That's usurpation of authority, usurpation of the judicial system, usurpation of government. Just can't be done. But they're pulling that on him. And of course, I suspect he's playing the game. He knows better, that he doesn't have to fund or pay that bond up front. But that's the kind of games that the court systems, the judicial system, the Department of Justice is playing on the people. So
the Department of Injustice.
Yeah, okay. So if you don't know your rights, you don't have it, okay? But that brought the Eighth Amendment is important because excessive bail shall not be required. But what are they doing? They're requiring an excessive bail. They're violating the Constitution right in our face, folks. They're sticking it to us, and we're allowing it to happen. What can we do about it? Well, we certainly could make phone calls to these morons that are in, and I guess I shouldn't call them morons, these usurpers that are in New York that are passing this and writing letters to the judges, putting judicial tenure complaints in, writing attorney grievance complaints, and people, if 10% of the people that are listening to your broadcast would write these usurpers and using the correct terminology that they are usurpers, that they're usurping authority never granted to them, then maybe we'd get some traction because they will realize the people are not happy with what's going on. But everybody's sitting back. Well, let Tater do it. Let somebody else do it. I'm not going to bother with that. It's too much work.
I think people are overwhelmed though too, because it's an area that there's so much threat coming to us. I think it's called the chill effect, where people perceive going into this arena, the government, the court system, and they're kind of like, no, I don't want to get anywhere close to this because they're afraid of it. And that's part of what the psychological warfare going on consistently has done, is it's disabled people just by fear. And instead of getting like a group of friends who know more than you do, that's why honestly, I'm learning so much from you. It's incredible that I didn't know. And I mean, how many months have we been doing this? We've been doing this, it's gotta be over a year we've been doing this. Is it over a year? Do you know how long we've been doing it?
Yeah, I suspect it's been about a year.
I think so too. And it's like, you know what? It's like, if you don't know, and I'm speaking to everybody out there, if you don't know what to do, you're going to have to find some friends or start researching to just educate yourself. But the reaction of being afraid of it isn't helpful. You just got to get into it and figure it out. And then you don't have to know everything. Nobody can know everything. We all have bits and pieces of the puzzle. And, grab some buddies and go at this together as a group.
Well, it is true that
Lev just said it. She said, Donna, I've been feeling overwhelmed to get very anxious reading these court cases. I have learned so much from John in his Zoom meetings, and I believe that is that's true, is that people are feeling overwhelmed because, where do you start fighting? What's the right direction to go in? And I believe that a lot of people feel that way. I think the word is get a plan and go after one thing at a time. You eat an elephant. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
I was just going to say that. Ask that question. How do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
And that's the way we do it here too. We just do one bite at a time. I'm the same. I can't be overwhelmed. I have to go one bite at a time. Sometimes I feel overwhelmed, so I have my couple of friends, Ron and one who is one of my mentors that I work with constantly. And he says, okay, sit down, back down, take a deep breath. Let's start over again, and let's do it this way, or let's look at it this way. So it's good to have information to bounce stuff off of. Bounce people, information to bounce off of people. And in our case, that's why we have a Wednesday night group. Come to the group with questions. Bring your questions. Ask anything that may overwhelm you or become overpowering so you don't get frightened of it, because there's nothing to be afraid of. We've got this.
If you're afraid, they've got you. And right. I mean, that's the truth. If you're afraid, they got to you. If you're overwhelmed, they got to you. And it's like, and they know exactly what they're doing. They know how to manipulate human beings like there's no tomorrow. They have like a million things going like this. Your head's always on a swivel, so you cannot get, and most of it's distraction. Most of it doesn't matter. Thank you. The good guys are lying. The bad guys are lying. Everybody's lying. So chasing information that is trying to be up to date in the news, it's not going to help you. You've got to look at the base of it. I mean, it's good to know and it's good to evaluate so that we do know. But honestly, I think the reason why we haven't righted these elections, the stolen, fraudulent, maladministration, wrecked lie of the elections that we have, is because all the election integrity people, they keep telling you what happened. Okay, we know they cheated, but I haven't heard one of them quote a law and set a legal precedent for going after them. All I hear is this is what they've done, but there's no law being quoted at all. I haven't heard anybody quote a law.
Well, it goes back to, as we spoke last week when we talked about the election process itself, that it goes back to the legislature. It has to go back to the individual legislator, the representative that is representing you and me in Lansing. That's where it's got to go back to that individual, and that individual has to stand on their two legs and make a difference, because we individually, you and I, don't have the strength that they do when they're in office. And that's
I think we should go to the townships. Every single person should go to the townships, and honestly put them on notice. There was somebody did it in Arizona, and I thought that was pretty brilliant, really. If you watch it, it was kind of interesting. They actually walked out. The township board walked out. But I honestly think that we should filibuster our townships. You can filibuster the townships with New York Times versus Sullivan. It's a personal filibuster. They may not shut you down and go in there with a bunch of people and filibuster their behinds. They have to sit, they have to listen to you. They can't give you a time. If the cops remove you and say, we're going to put you in jail for that, well, now they're guilty of it. And just go in there and be willing to stand for this and realize that, this is not legal advice, but this is what I think we should all do. I think that we should go in there based on the law and tell them, you're going to sit here and listen to what I have to say. They did it with the school boards. How many school boards stepped down and they reseated them right then and there with the people that were left when they walked out? Why? And I think we should do it based on these machines, the machines. We should go in there and filibuster them and say, you're either going to remove the machines or you're done. Right now, you're done.
Yep.
And,
what was the case? Sullivan, what?
New York Times versus Sullivan.
New York Times.
Yeah, let me look it up a minute. I'll bring it up a minute. Sometimes I get these things backwards. I got way too much in my head.
Well, that one I'm unaware of, and
Sullivan versus New York Times.
It's backwards, okay.
Yeah, I had it backwards. Sorry. And so this is let me go back here a minute. I always get those. I'm dyslexic. I'm whatever.
But I will pull that up and we will make it part of our repertoire.
Yeah, I think this is really important because people really need to understand. Here, I'll bring it up. That one is one that everybody should have in their back pocket. It is New York Times versus Sullivan. I always get it backwards. So, but at least I'm out here trying. I'm not perfect. I just try real hard.
Press 254.
Yeah. And basically it says that there is no point in time that they can tell you that they're only giving you 1 minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes to talk. They can't tell you that. They can't put a bridle on your free speech. And this is standing law. This is just like all the other ones, and everyone should have that. You go into your township meeting, you should be armed with this and set this as and say I object to your 3-minute time frame, and it's based on a law that's stare decisis on the books. New York Times versus Sullivan. It was decided March 9th, 1964. You do not have the right to put a time on my speech, and if you try, you're violating the law, and I will hold you accountable to it. And then if they send cops in after, if I send the cops in after you, say, fine, now you're going to be next on the chopping block.
Just add them to the list. Add them to the list.
And if they tell you, say you are in fact in violation of New York Times versus Sullivan. They can't tell you may not talk, and they have to sit there because they work for you now. Now, people have, I think this is funny. People call me a politician. I'm like, well, I've never worked for you, the government. I was trying, but and same thing with you. It's like, you can't call us politicians. We're regular citizens. We're people. We're whatever you want to call it. There's a million things. Everybody wants to get offended about the terms people use. Sometimes we use terms that are common to everyone. And because there's got to be a bridge between the people, and then explain yourself. What is it to be a citizen? What is it to be a domiciled person in the state of Michigan? And, those things have to be discussed so that we can get on the same page. I get it. But people that are kind of like newbies and normies to this, it's going to take us a while to educate them. Just like, us sitting here. I mean, you're educating me. I'm going to tell you that right now. And I appreciate every minute of it.
let's thanks. Let's back off of politicians. They're public functionaries.
Right.
And that's the true definition. Now, you're not a public functionary because
I was neither. I was a nothing. I'm a person that just stepped forward that was dumb enough to run for governor because I got asked. And
you were never put in office. Therefore, how could you be a public functionary?
I'm just a person who was sick of their crap and wanted it fixed. And the only one I knew I could trust to do the right thing under all circumstances was me. So I'm like, nobody else had proven themselves to me. So that's why I stepped up. But I'm not a politician. You know, I'm just down a Brandenburg.
Politician.
What? I'm not a public functionary. I'm not a politician. I'm just a person. So there you go.
Public functionary like you're in office.
Yeah, I had no greater standing or knowledge or anything than anybody else out there. I just had the guts to sit up there and say, this is messed up, guys. We're going to have to change it. And such. You know, I want to talk about, you got a class coming up too on Norton.
Yes. We're going to start on Wednesday. In fact, I've sent out to everybody in our group the Supreme Court docket with Norton in it. So it's actually from the Supreme Court. Although what we've been using is exactly the same. The words are the same, but it's nice to have it right on.
What time are you guys getting started? And is this online on Wednesday? It's
going to be 7:30 to 8 every Wednesday until we're done. And what we're going to do is we're going to do like a page a day. And we're going to do a real deep dive into that, explaining exactly what
are you taping it?
I was not going to.
Are you taping it?
I was not going to tape it, but maybe I will. Maybe I will.
Can you tape it for me? Because I've got another event that I'm supposed to go to, and I really want to go to it, but it's like, I can tell you, I would love to go to it, but I know for a fact I'm committed at that time. So, you know, another thing we could do is, if you want, I can set up a broadcast on BNN. BNN, you can set up a camera and people could tune into it there and we can promote it. And, you know, it's like for people that are too far away or can't make it.
That's a possibility. Yeah, we could talk about that.
I think we need to get this out to as many people as we possibly can. Charlotte said me also, thanks, John and Donna. It's like, if we could put this out there, I think more people need to know. And I mean, we've got the vehicle to do that. So if they can't come, it'd be great if we could get, you know, a lot of the BNN videos. I was kind of shocked at how many viewings we're actually getting, because I'm in so many different areas. You look at one or two of the little venues that we have going to, and it's like, okay, that's kind of cool, you know, how many we're getting. But when you put the aggregate number of how many viewings we're getting is actually pretty huge, shockingly huge to me. So that could be something that could really promote what you're doing.
Okay. We have decided, and more or less Ron has decided, but we have decided, the two of us, that this is the most important case of the Supreme Court, Norton versus Shelby County. Nobody wants to talk about it. Certainly the judicial system does not want to talk about it. Judges are afraid of it. Prosecutors are afraid of it. Attorneys are afraid of it because it'll eliminate them. Because it says the many times when they use the case, they will say most of it, but they will never say can never create a de facto office. They do not want that out there because they're all de facto, and none of them are lawfully established or organized or built. So those offices that have not been constitutional have no authority, and that, you know, the whole alphabet agencies in Washington D.C. have no authority. 90% of the offices in Lansing have no authority because there's no constitutional authority for them to exist. And
well, you know, and people keep asking, what can I do? What can I do? You know, the quickest way to have solved this was if John Tater or Donna Brandenburg had gotten in as governor. because you have the right under the Michigan Constitution to remove everyone except for the legislature. And they've asked me, oh, will you run for this office or that office? I'm like, no, because it's like, it's not going to work. You can't fix it that way. There's one path. There's two paths. There's two paths to remove it. The quickest one is a governor that's going to go in there with an axe and just go one swipe, all of it gone. That would have been the smart way to do it, but everybody was too interested in doing this party crap that's out there instead of fixing the problem. And the other one is Norton versus Shelby County, but that requires some work because you're going to have to convince the legislature to do it. If we were smart, we would have had a governor that would have gotten in that understood how to write this thing. 2 weeks. 2 weeks, we could have had this thing done.
That's right. That's absolutely.
Or maybe less. I mean, I would tell everybody, start the clock ticking and time me.
This is a good question. Who operates, or in what department is the Michigan State Police in?
Executive branch. It's Gretchen Whitmer's little Nazi KGB force that was following around the congressman. Oh, I'm going to piss a whole bunch of people off by that, but too bad. We just love our state police. That's great. But they're part of the problem of knocking down community policing. They're paying more because they're getting all the funding from the governor to carry out her wishes and all of that. And it's like, it's out of order.
Okay. I was going to ask a few other questions. What department does the Child Protective Services come under?
HHS, Health and Home
Services. What department does HHS come under? What branch does HHS come under?
I don't know that one, and so, but it's like I don't know that. But the point of that, none of them, because it's illegal. How's that?
Well, no. Let me make them very clear. All branches of government, or all of the departments in the government that have any authority to regulate anything, comes from the executive branch.
Okay, well, that's a quick path to getting rid of all of them.
Exactly my point. The executive branch controls all of those departments. The Secretary of State comes under the executive branch. The AG comes under the executive branch. They all come under the executive branch. The other branch of government is the legislature. And what does the legislature do? The legislature
nothing right now, but they're supposed to make law.
They're supposed to make law and fund, budget those departments. So they could control also.
They're twiddling their fingers.
All of the departments, couldn't they? They could stop all of the departments just by shutting down the funding. They're done. So
the governor could do that too by pulling funding, because they can put it in the budget, but the governor can spend it any way they want. So there's two ways of doing that. The legislature can pull funding. The governor can clip that thing quickly. And the governor is the seat that could write this. This is the only one that can write it and write it fast.
Only individual person that could do it would be the governor.
Correct.
The legislature has the power to do it too, if the legislature wanted to. So they're not going to do it.
There's too many people that are seated there for power, and so right now, because they've all committed treason, and they're all protecting each other's behinds, and they're all part of the political party system. There might be some good people in there and people that have been threatened, but right now the dynamic isn't there to fix it. The structure's wrong.
True, but we have control, supposedly. If we could have an honest and fair election, we would have control over the individual representatives. But we can also apply heat to the representatives by letters, by campaigning, by showing up at their coffee clutches, by creating problems for them if they step out of line. But we don't do that. We allow them to get away with whatever they're doing. You're saying let's go to the local governments, and I agree with you, because that's where we have the biggest power, is at the local government. We start there. but we have to continue on up the line and go after the legislator that is our representative. You know, we get to, and I just had somebody.
Can you imagine if everyone out there went after the local townships and demanded, what is that?
These are campaign brochures of all these morons. I mean, all of these public functionaries that are running for office.
It's all about making money, and they enrich all the printers. It's like you cannot believe how much money gets dumped down this industry black hole of despair. It's amazing.
What could you do for this guy that's running for office? I mean, I'm just picking on him because I have his brochure, or this one.
What can I do for him?
Yeah, what could you do?
Well, I'm not going to give him 1 cent because I wouldn't give him 1 cent. I wouldn't give 1 cent to the candidates or the parties or anything unless I knew somebody well enough. And so it would be find out what he's all about, maybe go in and do some OSINT work on him to find out what's going on, and then go talk to him and tell him what I want done.
First thing I would do, and I will do it to my representatives when I get their brochures come to my house, which I'm sure they're going to. I'm going to write them a email right off the bat, and I'm going to ask them, are you going to be a de jure officer occupying a de jure office? Simple question. And then see if they answer. And if they don't answer, I may make a phone call and say, hey, I sent you an email and asked you, are you going to be a de jure officer occupying a de jure office? And if he doesn't answer my question, I would say, why are you running for office? You don't even know what you're talking about.
How would what would that look like? What would that look like if he or she is actually in office? That would differentiate him from what we have.
Same thing. You call them up and you say, hey, are you a de jure? Are you acting de jure in your office?
What would that look like is my question, John. What would it look like to have somebody that is acting de jure in their seats?
Acting following the Constitution 100%. That's being a de jure officer. De jure means Constitution, by law. Are you following the law? Are you, I can't think of those people that are in office, the names of them, some of them, but during the election time when they said, oh, the election is fine and we don't have to do a forensic audit, or we've agreed that the election was a legitimate and open and free election. Really? And that's de jure. What you did was de jure, because we know it wasn't.
I really think that.
So that's where you got to start. But
make them sign a contract that they will uphold, because under penalty of being removed, because they don't even realize that they've done it. But I mean, before they get in, sign a contract. Will you, in fact, uphold the Constitution? Right, but I mean, before they're in office, John.
If they don't follow the Constitution and they swore an oath to God in the Constitution, that's Article 9, we'll go back to Article 9.
But this is my point. This is my point, John. Could we have them sign a contract or sign something that they say they will uphold the Constitution before they get in office? That this is their highest duty, so they acknowledge it?
I say that they have done that already. And if they have violated this Constitution, they have committed treason. That's right off the bat. We don't have to do any more because it's already done. But they don't follow it, and we don't hold them to it.
Okay,
why don't we hold them to it?
Can I stop a second? What I'm saying is do it before they get in. And so that this is what we want to know, that you will in fact follow and uphold the Constitution. If you don't, this is a penalty of law. And I know they're going to have it when they get in there, if they in fact take an oath, which some of them haven't. And so, but if you approach them beforehand and ask them straight out, are you willing to sign something that you will in fact uphold the Constitution before getting in office?
They're going to all say that. They're going to all say, yeah, they're going to do that. They're going to all lie if they want to lie. If they're going to lie, then what are you going to do about it? You're going to have the same problem. The problem is not creating another law or not creating another hurdle for them, but make them follow the hurdle that they've already created, that's already in the Constitution, that's already required of them. That's what we've got to go back to, the original where we are, and not make a new law, because we have 10,000 laws out there for what?
Well, I want to know that they even know what they're doing, because the sheriffs that I talked to, a lot of the sheriffs didn't even understand that, which was really kind of crazy to me. They didn't even know that. So there was not enough vetting before they even got in office to know what the job was or what they needed to do. They didn't even know.
Of course, I understand that. But would you take an oath to something that you've never read or do not understand? Would you swear?
Would I? No.
Well, and this is the same behavior of all public functionaries. They have to follow. First of all, they swear an oath to the Constitution. If they haven't read the Constitution, they swear both to the federal and the state. And if they haven't read the federal and the state constitutions, what is that? That's stupidity. I can't even consider would you sign a contract of any kind without reading it? And that's what they're doing. They're they're swearing an oath to a contract that they've never read or they don't understand. So they're incapable of being in that office, and they should be not allowed to be put in that office. That's where we as the general public have fallen down. We have not requested them that information. We do not ask who they are, what they are, and what do they know and what don't they know. Do we have easier question? Do we have a Republican form of government or a democracy?
Well, it's supposed to be Republican.
Yeah. So if anybody said, no, we have a democracy, then say, you can't run for office. You don't even know what you're talking about.
You just failed 101, class 101 on what the job is.
Yeah. Now, how about the Constitution? Did you read the Constitution? Oh, you read the Constitution? And then Article 4, Section 4 says we have a Republican form of government, and yet you say we have a democracy? So you didn't read the Constitution either, did you? That's the way we catch these people, and we can publicly humiliate them, and we should.
Or instruct them. If we have an honest person out there, this is the other thing too, is that there's so much information that's overwhelming that if even if we approach it in a non-hostile way and ask them a question, the correct way is to go to them in person and see what they know. And then if they're willing to learn, instruct them. If they're not, then it's time to take them out from. And I don't mean take them out, but
what do you have to do to become? What do you have to do to become a police officer?
What do you have to do?
Yeah. I
have no idea, because there's
approximately. What do you think you have to do to become a police officer?
There seems to be not a whole lot of training or anything, because it's like the sheriffs, they can deputize and such. And as far as the state police or the local,
we're not talking about the sheriff now. We're talking about the police.
Don't know.
A little different. In order to be a police officer, you have to go through the police academy, right?
I'm not sure of that, because I know that some people say that they've gone through training with the sheriffs and then moved up to the state police because of their policing experience there. So I don't know. I really don't know the qualifications.
Yeah, all right. Well, maybe I'm picking on the wrong profession. Let's try teacher. What do you have to do to become a teacher? Can you just walk in and say, hey, I want to teach?
Teaching certificate through the indoctrination camps.
Okay, well, whatever you want to call it, you could call it that. You have to take a test, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to go through 4 years of college or whatever, like I did, 4 years of college. And then you have to take a test at the end to see if you're.
Yeah, it's a teaching certificate.
Yeah, to get the teaching certificate. What do you have to do to become a public functionary?
Absolutely nothing. And it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And then the people don't seem to want to vet the people based on their skills. It's more about popularity contests. Oh, I like what this person wears. I like this one, because of this. It's like a teenager's way of vetting a clique instead of putting somebody professional into an office to run it in a professional manner. And it just blows my mind, because we would never go to a bank, let's just say, to manage our assets and say, well, I like the way this person has her hair done, or this guy's got good feet, or something like that. It's the dumbest metric I've ever seen in my life. And so they vote on people based on that kind of a criteria. And I'm like, you're talking about a very, very large asset. You're voting in people who have no idea how to manage that type of money without having to stick their hand in that cookie jar, because they've never had anything. They've never managed anything. And now we're going to sit there and look at why we want somebody, and it turns into a popularity contest or little cliques of people like high school that want to vote them in based on, well, I like this person, they're nice to me. That is absolute stupidity. It's stupidity.
Exactly my point.
Yes.
So now we have the ammunition as to what we should be doing when we talk to these public functionaries, that we're going to put in a public functionary office, in an office that has a specific function to do. That's how we have to focus on this. This is a job that they have to do. This is not representing somebody. What does that mean? I represent you. You got to represent me based on the laws of this country, not just represent me. I don't like my neighbor over here. My neighbor has 3 children and shouldn't be having 3 children, and my neighbor causes me trouble. Therefore, I want to get rid of that neighbor. Mr. Representative, I want you to pass a law that says you can only have 2 children. I mean,
that's exactly what they've done.
Exaggerating the stupidity of what's going on, but that's what's exactly going on.
I want this, or I want that, or I want this happening, I want that to happen. Well, that's wonderful, except you don't have the right to do that to people around you. It's like, you have your rights, but you can't encroach in somebody else's rights. That's not okay. And I'm kind of right there with you.
So we have the contract, and if you want to call it a contract, we have the means by which to operate and control these public functionaries, but we have to use them.
What article did you want to go through today? Because what's that?
I got it. Article. I wanted to continue with Article 1, section, and we did section 9 last week. I want to do section 10, at least get section 10 done.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and put that up there. I'll be right back a second, and then go ahead, and I'll be able to hear you, but go ahead and talk, and then I will be right back.
Okay, it says, no state shall enter into a treaty, alliance, or confederation. How about Michigan, our governor, going to China and entering into a somewhat of an alliance? You come to China, you come to Michigan, and you build a battery plant for us, and you'll be able to use our facilities, use our grounds, use our area, use our resources, and basically use it as China. Is that an alliance that she is setting up? Is that lawful? According to Section 10 of the federal Constitution, no state shall enter into a treaty, alliance, and or confederation with other countries, not and also not other states. You just can't do that. But okay, there's a violation. Grant letters of marque or reprisal. What's a letter of marque or reprisal? I mean, we've heard these terms used all the time, but nobody pays any attention to them. They sound interesting, but nobody's following what they mean. So what is a letter of reprisal? Where's my document here? I just had it in my hand. There we go. Okay, a letter of marque is a license to fit out to arm a vessel and go after other enemy ships or ships against your state or country. So to arm a vessel, what happened back in the Lusitania, for example, that ship that was armed, that was supposedly a cruise ship, but it was armed with ammunition for to fight the war. Is that a lawful use of the vessel, and is that a violation of the letters of marque or reprisal to put a ship together and make that ship go against the enemy? That also is another violation. How about this one? Coin money. Well, states have not tried to coin money, although there is South Dakota has their own banking system, a state bank, which operates outside of the Federal Reserve, just for the state business. Well, okay, that's a difference because it's operating for the state itself. Emit bills of credit. We know what that is. Having Michigan.
Where are you at right now? I'm trying to catch up. Oh, there you go. Okay, got it.
Third sentence. Emit bills of credit with other states or with other countries. And I'm not sure what bills of credit have been emitted with Detroit or Michigan when they gave the waterway to Nestle's to siphon off the water to take it to China to bottle it and bring it back to Michigan. I don't know if there was bills of credit given to the state itself and or the pockets of the public functionaries that are sitting in office. So
look at what happened up there with Mecosta County, with how many public functionaries up there were selling their property for just a crazy amount of money next to Goshen.
Yes. There's a lot of stuff.
Yep.
A lot of stuff going on that we don't even know, that you and I are not made privy to, because they keep it behind books. They keep it. They hide that information from us, and that's all supposed to be public. But it's been going on for a long time.
They register.
Make anything.
Yeah.
Here's the big and most powerful one that we have. We could shut the Federal Reserve Bank down tomorrow. Make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debt. Make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debt. Federal Reserve would be out of business tomorrow. Federal Reserve, the money system that we have in our country is fiat. There is no gold or silver backing on any of it. And the states, when you're in a court of law, for example, the state court, the government of the state cannot force you as an individual citizen to pay anything in a fine or fee in something other than gold and silver coin. That's right there in the federal Constitution. By the way, it hasn't been amended. And if it has, you'll have to show me where the amendment is, but it hasn't been amended. So the states cannot force payment in something other than gold and silver coin. So that is a very, very powerful spot or statement in Article 1, Section 10. Moving on from there, pass any bills of attainder. What's a bill of attainder? Anybody have any idea?
I think that's like commandeering somebody else's assets.
A bill of attainder is a special act that the legislature can inflict upon somebody, a capital punishment. In other words, they don't like the way you're behaving, so they're going to inflict some sort of a punishment on you. That's a bill of attainder.
Including like grabbing their assets for, like, let's just say that they charge somebody with say, oh, I don't know, like a felony or something like that, and then being able to grab their assets. Is that an example?
Yes, without due process of law.
Without due process of the law.
And so where do we do that? They're doing that. The Michigan State Police have been doing that for a long time, right? They've been grabbing assets. They say, well, we believe that you're a drug dealer and therefore we're taking all your money, or we're taking your car. We're impounding your car.
Civil forfeiture. Look at civil forfeiture and how that works.
It's exactly what it is. It is.
Yeah, that's so wrong. And there's been actually, I've seen some things where police departments basically commandeered enough through the civil forfeiture that they bought themselves like stupid crap, like a margarita machine or something like that.
Yep.
And then the property becomes an asset that owns itself. So you can't even go in to fight for that asset back. So let's just say they come in through civil forfeiture and you're carrying, like, I don't know, $500, a couple $1,000s worth of cash. And they say, oh, we know you're a drug dealer, and with no proof. And then they grab that asset, and then then you don't own it. The asset owns itself. So the money would have to sue itself for freedom.
Or you could sue, but I mean, going through the process of suing and getting your money back was going to cost you money to do.
Well, and that's just it. It's like tying them up. I was just talking about this morning with somebody else, and how they've got us all tied up. It's like to fight in the court system. They can tie you up in a court system like they have with Donald Trump, to absolutely silence you, impoverish you, deny you the ability to have a hearing, a trial, or get any relief from anything. They'll tie you up for how many years? There's no due process. There's no expeditiousness in the trials or in any process. We just had these guys that the guy that was caught for being charged for felonies. There's 3 of them within the Attorney General's office for me. It just got pushed off again for another 30 days. It's been, we gotta go file our nails down or something, and then it gets pushed out another 30 days. Well, it was supposed to be in February. Now it's another 30 days to the end of March, and they just keep. There is no speedy trial. They're in violation of this every step of the way for all of us. Judicial system is absolutely crap. It sucks, and it's a dumpster fire of extortion.
It's broken. No doubt. Yes, exactly. I can tell you how many times I've been in front of, or I have filed cases in front of Batani, judge, supposedly U.S. District Court, Linda Parker, another federal district court judge, Yonkers, a district court judge, U.S. District Court judge, and Nugent from Chicago, not Chicago, from Cleveland, Ohio, another U.S. District Court judge, and not had an opportunity to be in front of any one of them for an oral argument. They would not let me in the court. Yep. I wonder why.
Yeah, because they're unprepared. They're unprepared.
I am certain. The attorneys. I would embarrass the attorneys. The opposing parties' attorneys, as well as the judge. The judge doesn't know the law. The judge is just sitting on the bench, filing her nails in that case of those people. But anyway, let's move on from there. So we've talked about bills of attainder, and now we've got ex post facto laws, the next one. What's this ex post facto law? Do you have any idea?
Well, I'm going to let you explain that one.
I can. That is writing a law today for last week and making it a crime. That's something that you did last week because we've made the law today. That's an ex post facto law. Now, we've seen that go on dozens of times too, in many, and I can't think of an incident at the moment, but where they will write a law today, and since they write a law today, they'll back it up and say, well, it'll count 2 months ago, and you're going to be charged a crime 2 months ago. That's an ex post facto law.
Well,
and they've done that constantly too.
And they're using the regulatory agencies in order to violate that, actually, because when we were involved in something that was a Central States Teamsters had looted their own pension, is what it came down to, and the ERISA Act allowed them to do that. And so they came back on all the contractors and said, oh, so sorry, we blew through all of our pension money. And guess what? They expected it goes back to Studebaker, who looted their pensions. So they wrote ERISA. And so then they came back on all the contractors that had ever worked on them to make up the shortfalls, because these bastards running it looted their own pension and mismanaged it. Now, all the contractors had paid in what they were supposed to, but they went back on the contractors, no matter how long you had worked with them, to go after making up their shortfalls. And I want to have people remember this. This is what they did, is they wrote a law that allowed this to happen. They've got some, and think about this. If they can do it that within like the Teamsters organizations, now let's bring this into a full circle a little bit larger, because they have decided to do it that way. What happens if a municipality, or say the teachers union, or any of these other unions mismanage their funds? Guess who holds the bag?
Yes, of course.
The people of the United States of America, personally, because of these laws. And they wrote it in order, I can tell you that right now, they wrote it in order to bankrupt companies and to bankrupt American citizens, domiciled people in America. That's why these laws were written. And nobody saw it in 1972 because we were asleep. Now, I was only 9 years old at that point in time. But the people that were in a position of power slid this right through, and they knew what they were doing. And if you look at the unfunded liabilities that are out there and what they've done and all of this stuff, you can go look at stuff like the U.S. debt clock and see what we've got out there and outstanding. If it doesn't make your blood run cold, it should, because they're talking about the national debt, the trillions of dollars, the national debt. Oh, just look at some of the other factors that are out there that you and I are on the hook for, and nobody wants to talk about this. Well, I was up close and personal on watching what happened when a pension, when they looted their own pension or mismanaged it.
Yep.
And that is basically holding people, accountable. It's bad. And it goes further. Ex post facto laws would be applied in different ways too. But that's one way that they have allowed themselves to go after people that have absolutely fulfilled everything they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Moving on, laws impairing the obligation of contracts. Government can't do that, and they do that on a daily basis. They impair through their laws, through their regulations, and so on and so forth, obligations of contracts, and grant any title of nobility. Oh, esquire.
Oh, like the bar.
That's the esquire.
An esquire, like the bar.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the esquire. As anybody knows anything about Old English law, you're a and I can't tell you, it's not a peasant necessarily. The person at the very bottom who does all of the work and the labor, and then the next step up is the esquire, and then it becomes they go into I don't remember what the other stages, but there are phases of of what, and I should look that up. But Esquire is above and beyond, or above the rest of us. That's the way they have set this up. And so are they, at this point in time, titles of nobility? Yeah, they are titles of nobility. If you're an Esquire, then you have a specific title that you can do something that we can't do, supposedly. You can represent yourself in pro se, but you cannot help someone else. You cannot counsel someone else in a court. That's the title.
You kind of can. You kind of can, because it says counsel. It doesn't say a bar attorney membership.
I agree with you there. I agree. But the state courts have all set up that you cannot. So I mean, it's going to be difficult. That's a hurdle we have to overcome, and that's a violation of the federal Constitution. My point. That's what I'm trying to say. And the state constitution shouldn't be limiting the rights, but should be expanding them further beyond the federal constitution. But they're limiting our rights in the state constitution. Okay, moving on. No state without the consent of Congress lay an impost or duty on imports or exports, except, what may be absolutely necessary for the execution for executing its inspection laws, and the net product of all duties and imposts laid by any state on imports or exports shall be for the use of the Treasury of the United States, and all such laws shall be subject to the revision and control of the Congress. And this is basically about taxing. And the reason that these laws were put in is to allow the states to work together and not use taxing to, it's going to come from Ohio, it's got to be taxed a certain way. If it comes from the state, to make it mesh together so the states work together. And we don't have too much of this kind of crap going on in our state. But we do have other violations of Section 10 going on. And the last part. No state shall, without the consent of Congress, lay any duties or tonnage, keep troops or ships of war in times of peace, enter into any agreement or compact with other states or with other foreign powers, or engage in war unless actually invaded, or in such imminent danger as will not admit of delay.
Like, I don't know, the illegal invasion.
Yeah, that's where I was going, but good. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I'll bring it up. Let's say, so I kind of think we are there. What?
What's going on in Texas?
What's going on in Michigan? What's going on in the whole United States? I mean, every single state right now is a border state. And if they're importing this army into the state of Michigan, we have the right now because they've already done it.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly the point I wanted to bring out, and you brought it out for me, which is good.
So I'm learning.
Yes, you are. Well, you have been learning right along. You've gotten a lot of this stuff down. I'm hoping people are getting this stuff. I hope the listeners are doing something other than washing their dishes while we're running our program here. Paying attention, because that's what it's all about. We have to get back to this document, because this document would lay the foundation for this country and clean up a lot of the garbage that's going on right now.
We can go a little bit further this morning too, John, because Courtney had an appointment she had to get to. She said she was going to try to be back, but she didn't know if she was going to make it back. So I said, that's okay. John and I filled 2 hours like champions before. So if there's plenty we can go through,
Fortunately, I don't have to be somewhere else today. But normally I would have to say I can't do it. But I can stick around a little longer.
And I think that this is what's really important, is the fact that we've gone through the Constitution, both of Michigan as well as the federal Constitution, several times. And every time you go through it, you're learning something new, and you learn how it's applied. You know, you can read this, but realistically, the better way to study anything when it comes to a legal document like this is to read it in context, and also be able to apply it to real life situations. That's how you get stuff in your mind and stick it in there. If you just read contracts and you read this kind of stuff and you can't apply it, this is one of the big beefs I have with our education system. You know, it's like when I was in history class when I was younger, of course they're going to tell you all the history, this history, that history and such, but there was no context to most of it. You had like one paragraph in a textbook of 3 million little pieces of information. You know, I'm exaggerating there, but you know what I mean. And after about 20 pieces of information, you glaze over. It becomes, oh gosh. And they never really taught you how it related to other subjects, or how people related to each other, or how they were tied in together, and what moved things forward. And there was a program on years ago called The Day the Universe Changed. And it was a PBS thing, which fairly liberal fairly liberal. However, with, you know, you can learn from all subjects, and we've got to be able to look at all subjects, whether we agree or disagree with them, because there's always information that comes out. I like to read people that I believe I will disagree with. Like when I didn't know what I was going to find when I went and listened to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and I was very surprised in a very good way at what I heard when I actually listened to what he said. So that whole series moved into another one called Connections, and it was by I believe his name was James Burke, and I was absolutely obsessed with these shows, because they showed the origin of something and how it went through time and affected things like, say, let's start out with the Roman road, and then go to things like, say, how computers came to be, or the printing press and that sort of thing, and how these things affected the development of many things during history. And it is absolutely fascinating. And that's one of the big beefs that I have, the way that a lot of history has been taught, is it's information, but you've got to, like math or statistics or anything, you've got to know how to apply this and in which, situations, and discuss these. Okay, we can apply this way, or we can apply things that way. So people start thinking about how to put them into practice. Another thing I was thinking about, what would be kind of cool, is if we got to some point in time where we actually showed people, and I'm gonna put this out there because it just kind of dawned on me, right? I think maybe what we should do is go through a teaching session on how to write a letter to the people that are public functionaries, including parts of the law, so that they're actually armed with things in hand to go and talk to them, and so that they know how to actually write a letter with the law, and with the law in it. What's the process? How do you pull the law? Where do you go look for the laws? And teach them how to do this, because I think there's a lot of people out there would love to do it, but I don't think they know how.
That might not be a bad idea, to set up some sort of a template, a format by which people would be able to do some, but people need to be more educated into learning what some of the laws and rules and that we have. We live in a country that we are. This is by law. Everything is by law. The rule of law. Trump talks about the rule of law constantly. We have to know what the rule of law is in order for us to be able and capable of getting that information across to others. In other words,
what a great way to learn it, though, by doing actually work as you learn, as you're actually working. And so you've got a basis. If we've got a basis, because we've been talking about this for a year here, which is fantastic. I mean, I've learned so much, and I know many, many people out there have from your knowledge, which is great. So maybe we could even do something where we put it into practice and say, okay, this, and this is what it is on BNN. We're throwing things against the wall and seeing what sticks here and seeing how we can, seeing how we can help everybody to get in the game. What if we set things up so we had, say, like a Word, like a Word document or a text document there, that we were literally going out and finding things, copy and pasting it into our document and going, let's go to step 1, let's go to step 2, let's copy and paste this into the document, and actually create one online that people could take and go after with this written with a law in it, to say, like, their township boards, and say, we are going to get rid of the machines and this is how we're going to do it. You are going to get rid of these machines. We are instructing you to get rid of the machines. It doesn't come from the top, it comes from the bottom. And these are the laws. These are the laws you broke by using the electronic machines. And this is how we're going to remove them.
That'd be a great idea. The only problem that I see with it is people will cut and paste, and they do not really understand what they're cutting and pasting.
But we could teach them as we go.
We'd have to do that, and that would have to be the learning desire.
I think that would be great, because we can walk away with something in hand that they can have an actionable step with. And take some of the scariness and the overwhelming part of it away, and say, you know what, we're going to create a document that if you would like to, you can take this format, you can add to it, you can change it, and go to your township and set up there and tell them you're going to remove the machines. And this is the basis of why. And if you don't, we're going to start an investigation through the sheriff's office on why you are not upholding your oath of office of representing us.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good one.
I would love to do this. I really think we should think about that. And maybe, I don't know about you, but I think I'd love to do this starting next week. I think this would be great.
Okay. I'll see what I can do to put something together for next week.
And then all we need is sort of is just start. I mean, even if we just built the template on as we're on here online. I mean, and so maybe what we do is you have something written out of how we're going to do this, and then have it in a Word document here where we show them, okay, now we're going to go here and we're going to get this law and we're going to insert it here and we're going to talk about it, so that you understand every part of this document and your rights as it relates to the law on the books. And now we're going to go ahead and tell you how you could approach this, and not that it's legal advice at all, but it's educating them on the laws, on how.
What's this legal advice nonsense?
Sorry, lawful. Bad down. Down.
Well, but the problem is that we have these so-called people that have a bar license,
right,
or bar card, that say it's a license, it's lawful, it's legal. You can't practice law. That is so egregious to the whole system of what it's all about. We live in law. Our life is law because we live in the rule of law. So how can you not practice law without a license? What is that?
Yeah, it's not okay. It's like, did you know that up north there was a judge that threw a woman in jail to make an example out of her for 30 days for talking about common law? Stated
something else going on that I don't know, but
I don't know. I'm pretty disgusted by this.
There's no such thing as practicing law without a license, because nobody has a license to practice law. Bar attorneys don't have a license to practice law.
No, they've got
neither do judges. Everybody practices law because you live in law.
And they've made it super hard to find any information too from the state. If you ever tried to navigate that state website, it's like what Michelle Obama did by hiring her sorority sister to make the website for Obamacare.
I have not.
It's absolutely ridiculous how hard it is to navigate and find what you want. And they have absolutely intentionally made it difficult.
Of course they do. Because you got to have a lawyer, this whole nonsense when you go to court. Or you don't got to hire an attorney. Baloney, you have to hire an attorney. If you have to hire an attorney, that means that you're incapable of handling it yourself. And so you have to have somebody else do it for you. You're ignorant in that regard. So we got to stop the hiring of attorneys and handling it ourselves, getting away from those people.
And I'm gonna charge everybody out there, if you're in office, you should be working to put yourself out of the office, and go back to work somewhere. Have a plan. Don't sit there and say, I'm going to make a friggin' a whole bunch of money, and then I'm going to go into retirement, but I'm going to stay in here as long as I can to milk this system of whatever I can. And it's like, they need to go home and be just like all of us. This is such a crazy thing.
That's right. All right. If you want to continue the march,
go ahead.
Then maybe we should go to the executive branch, which is the second branch of government, or Article 2 of the federal Constitution. And what do we find out about Article 2? Who makes up the executive branch? We kind of talked about that at the very, very beginning. But
governor, vice president, the Secretary of State, and also the Attorney General, correct? And all the
any law enforcement organization, or any organization that has been set up for the purpose of enforcing law and or regulating. Those are that is the executive branch. So FBI, CIA, BATF, DEA, all of those come under the executive branch, and they are being controlled by who? Who runs the executive branch?
The governor or the president?
Governor or the president. That's right.
Right.
So
that was so easy. I thought it was going to be a trick question, that you're going to tater me.
How many people look at the Department of the DEA or the BATF and say, no, but who's controlling that department? Nobody goes back to, it's the president that's controlling that department. It's the IRS, the Treasury. Who controls those departments? That's the president. These departments are out of control. Where should we be going? Whose door should we be knocking on? We should be going to the president and saying, why are you, it just drives me crazy. The IRS is now getting 80,000 new agents, and they're going to arm them? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, well, you know what? A great president, or really great president, or really great governor would say, all of those rounds that you bought for the IRS and such, we're going to distribute it to we the people, and commandeer that a little bit from their unlawful activities and distribute it to we the people, so that we could protect our nation.
That's right. It's not, the executive branch is supposed to be there for one function, right? To protect their life, liberty, and property, right? That's correct. Their only job. That's their only duty in office. They have no other duty in office. And yet we allow them to get away with all of the carnage that they're putting on our country, bringing in illegal aliens. This is his job, is to stop the infiltration of illegal aliens into our country. That's his job. And he's not doing his job.
And then he's taking our money, stealing the money of the taxpayers, and he's funding this.
That's right.
It's not okay.
Not okay. Okay, so let's move on. The executive power shall be vested in the President of the United States of America. We already said that. The President controls the executive branch. He shall hold his office during the term of 4 years, and together with the vice president chosen for the same term, being elected as follows. Each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled in the Congress. But no senator or representative or person holding an office of trust or profit under the United States shall be appointed as an elector. That's interesting. Number one, why do we have an electoral college? What is that all about? Because this has been a bone of contention with a lot of people, and certainly the Democrats and the socialist Democrats have been trying to eliminate the electoral college.
Because they're trying to aggregate the vote and the power to the large cities, and the electoral college distributes it more equally between the states.
Very good, very good. That's exactly the reason we have an electoral college. Also, if they find that the two outer states, New York and California, are running amok, which they are, they do not want those two states to control the central part of the United States, such as Montana, which has a small population, and Wyoming, which has a small population. They don't want those outer states to control the inner states. They want it to be fair and balanced, and that's why we have an electoral college.
Well, that's because they want to keep it from, because they know the heart of men is evil among all things, quite honestly. And the large cities and the way they've gone would commandeer all the resources and turn the people there as tenement farmers, so that, they would create a slave class out of the rural areas.
That's right. So those people that say we ought to get rid of the electoral college and go to a popular vote, where is your head?
Yeah, you're voting yourself into slavery by these big cities who couldn't manage an ant farm.
What are you thinking to change this part of the Constitution? This is a critical part of the Constitution right here. Just think what would have happened had the popular vote, and how did the popular vote happen in 2020? Through bringing in illegal immigrants, through running different, through running, letting dead people vote, through all of the other shenanigans that they did in the elections, and they got their popular vote. It wasn't a lawful vote.
Well, we don't know if they got their popular vote because they cheated their tails off.
That's my point. They cheated through the process. They could get away with it. They got away with cheating, and they got away with what we would consider a popular vote, but it wasn't a popular vote.
No, it was a cheated vote
of criminals, and they rigged the system. And so thank God that we had an electoral college, and Trump was able to muster the electoral college and get into office for those 4 years to change the system and to shed light on the rats. Because otherwise, Hillary would have probably got in. We'd have been in World War III. We would have been hiding in our basement or in an underground bunker from a nuclear war, which they would have pushed forward so they could keep their power. That's where this was headed. And if people don't see that, then they're blind. And then they just don't understand what it is to be an American. But anyway, moving on. I'm got to get off the soapbox here.
That's okay. Stay on the soapbox, John. I love listening to you. Good.
The electors shall meet in their representative states and vote by ballot for two persons, of whom one at least shall not be an inhabitant of the state with themselves. So you can't have both president and vice president running for office from Michigan. Can't be done. You have to have two separate states. And they shall make a list of all of the persons voting for and the number of voters of each, which list with which list they shall sign and clear and certify and transmit, sealed to the seat of the government of the United States, directed to the President of the Senate. The President of the Senate shall, in the presence of the Senate and the House of Representatives, open all the certificates, and the votes shall be then counted. Oh, we got to stop here.
Vice President.
What happened in the last election? He did count them all right, so he said, but he certified them too.
And you know what? I got a problem with this because he stepped when you look at the Betsy DeVos stepped down on the 7th, right after the 6th there, and gave Pence $22 million to his said campaign, is what I heard. And so, guess who was in the pocket of the DeVosses?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
There's a lot there, and I'm going to tell you what you want to look at. Okay, I'm going to go off on a tangent here too with this dumpster fire of Republican Party in this state of Michigan. Look at where everything is being held. Look at DeVos Place. Look at the Amway. Look at where MIGOP with Pete Hoekstra, Mr. Patriot Act was held. It was held at the Amway. I got some questions, guys. I've got some big questions. The only words I want to hear out of Hoekstra's mouth is, I broke the law with the Patriot Act. I committed treason, and I'm ready to write this thing.
Yeah, well, I don't.
That's the only thing I want to hear out of his mouth right now.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, it's like if for me to listen to him, that's the only thing I want to hear. I want to hear how he's going to write it, because he broke the law. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And all of them did. Yes.
So backing up here to the vice president, I think Trump has used this in his advantage by getting this law passed that the vice president can't do that anymore. The Democrats passed that law. The Democrats would have not said anything had it been a lawful system the way it was set up. But because it wasn't lawful, and because Pence didn't do what he should have done, the Democrats went ahead and passed the law saying that the vice president cannot do that anymore, cannot challenge it. So this is good, because when Trump wins the election, vice president can't challenge it. The vice president hasn't, because they've already ruled against that challenging. So I think President Trump is lining up or stacking the deck in his favor, which is a good thing. It's not what the law says, and it's not what it is, but that's what the Democrats have been doing. I don't know if I want to call them all. They're not all evil. Most of them are, but not.
No, I don't think it's the Democrats. I think that's like just a great mask for, because there's a lot of good people in both parties that are thinking and trying to do what they believe is right. Yeah. And so I don't hold it against the people any more than I hold what's happening in Israel and Palestine against the people there. They lived there for years peacefully until the Balfour Declaration and all this nonsense of setting things up. And all of a sudden there's all kinds of fighting there. I mean, there has been fighting to a certain extent, but they like threw fire on this thing. And it is to keep the people fighting.
That's right. And that's all this is.
That's all it is.
Is to keep the evil people in power. And we have to oversee, we have to see beyond that. We have to see what the real game plan is here.
Yep. Look at the headlines.
That's right.
Yep.
Okay. So moving on. The person shall have the greater number of votes shall be the president, if such number be a majority of the whole number of electors appointed, and if there be more than one who have such majority and have an equal number of voters, then the House of Representatives shall immediately cause by ballot one of them for president, and if no one having a majority, then from the 5 highest on the list, The said House shall in like manner choose the president, but in choosing the president, the vote shall be taken by the states, the representatives from each state having one vote, and quorum for this purpose shall consist of a member or a members from the 2/3 of the states, and the majority of all states shall be necessary to a choice. In every case, after the choice of the president, the person having the greatest number of votes for the elector shall be the vice president, but if there shall remain two or more who have equal votes, the Senate shall choose from them by ballot the vice president. So originally it was set up, and it still should be set up that way, that we have 5 or 10 people running for office, and the first 2 people that have the first one who has the greatest number of votes becomes the president. The second person in line who has the second number of votes should be the vice president. They shouldn't have a Democrat president or the Democrat candidate selecting a vice president like they have the system now.
Well, where did that start, John? I've got a question of where did that start to run it this way, and why hasn't anybody put it back in check?
Because of the two-party system that came on board. They decided that you can't have 2 candidates that might be opposing each other.
Which would actually be a very good check and balance, quite honestly.
That's exactly why it was set up that way.
Yeah, so maybe people keep talking about RFK Jr. and or somebody else taking that position. If we went back to this, think about this: you would have representation of different people's ideologies instead of one side saying I'm right and you're going to do what I say because we're right and we're going to signal you right into the grave here,
So here's the way the system was set up originally. The 12 people run for office, let's say, and we just have a ballot with no parties, just the names of the candidates. So number one, you have to know who the candidate is. You can't just pick 2 people on those 12 people. You've got to know who they are that you're voting for. You've got to know a little bit about them. What kind of person are they? What kind of campaign did they run? What kind of philosophy do they have? And then you can go out and vote for 2, and you get to vote for 2 people. So you vote for 2, and the 2 high votes that get the 2 highest votes become president and vice president. And then it takes the entire idea of being a Democrat or a Republican out of the system completely. Well, I like RFK. I like Trump. So I would vote for those 2 guys. Who else would I vote for? Who else on the list is got any kind of merit that should be running for office? Nobody that I know of. That'd be my personal opinion.
I don't like anybody else out there, but honestly, I think RFK Jr. would be an outstanding attorney general.
Could be, but he could be a good vice president too.
He could be, and I feel like he's a very sincere man. He's sincerely, I believe, trying to do the right thing, and it's like and when I look at how much fighting he's done in the court system for individual rights on I don't know, against the big pharma and that sort of thing, he's like one of the only ones legally that's gone after it with bared teeth for the damage of human beings. And I got a lot of respect for him. I really do. Tremendous amount of respect. And of all the people that I've listened to politically, I'm going to tell you right now, I think he's probably the most sincere, and I agree with him on everything. I don't agree with anybody on everything.
Yeah, I don't agree with him on a lot of stuff, but you're right. Out of all of the other candidates, all the other possibilities out there, he's the only other person that I would consider a vote for.
Well, listen, I mean, and if we stick to the law and go back to the Constitution, any of those things we disagree with, like the Second Amendment violations and such, that's not even up for discussion. Move on, go to something else. And so, whatever people's opinions are, it's just not going to matter if we follow the law. Follow the law, constrain what's going out there, go after the bad guys, eliminate all threats, foreign and domestic. Pretty simple, it seems like to me.
It is. It is pretty simple. It's pretty simple.
So is this a good time to wind this up right now?
Yeah, we could do that. That would be good.
And then I really want to talk to you off camera a little bit about setting something up so people can leave next week Tuesday with something in their hands. I think that would be cool.
Okay.
And or if you want to do more shows, if you want to do a second show where we go at it, we actually start doing some documents that people can springboard off of.
Well, I tell you,
I love it.
Yeah, we could talk off. Yeah, we could call it a day and talk off camera for a bit and see if we can set up something.
Okay,
find out how many people might be interested in doing this.
Okay, so I gotta play this. It's probably going to go back to some sort of colon medication. That's what they always do on these things. But I think this is really fun, and I played this yesterday. Let's see if it'll hold my place. Oh, there we go. There's colon medication or something. Just too fun. And why you're asking, why, Donna, are you playing that video? And I'll tell you why. Because I love this. When you look at the animals, especially horses, they teach you a lot. You want to go to something that's a little bit more successful than what human beings are, go to the animals, because they usually know what's going on. And even the Bible says that no one is without excuse, because all you got to do is look at nature, and God put all of his rules out there for us to see, or how it's supposed to work. And when I see this little foal, just like happy bopping around next to mom and such, I'm like, there's your family right there. Moms and dads have both the right and the duty to raise their children. And kids watch what we do. If you want your kids to grow up right, then you're going to have to make a decision to be that example, because they want to be like mom and dad. Yep. And further, that's a great example of our relationship with God Almighty. He wants to be with us. He's not pushing us off into government schools or anything else like that. He wanted a relationship with us, and he wants a relationship with us. I mean, that's absolute truth. You can count on that. So with that said, I think it's important for us to, realize that God's not against us. He's for us, and he's good all the time. And we can strive to think about how you would want to be related to as a mom or a dad by your kids. Well, that's the way God wants to be related to too. And he's a person. And I'm just going to play just a little bit more of this because it's just cute as heck. Baby's a little bit bewildered there. It's funny. Not sure if he's going to kick somebody or not. See, watch how careful the handlers are, or the judges. too funny. I can tell you that a foal that size can kick right over your head. And so and they haven't been civilized enough to know that, yeah, you don't kick it at people. They're not bad people. They see everything as a little scary, but mom's there, so it's okay. And same thing with God. God's standing there, and we can have the same confidence that he's walking with us every single day as our Father, a good Father who cares about you and everyone else. So say a prayer here a minute, and then we're going to move on to our day. You have any last words, John?
Only that on Wednesday we will start our Norton versus Shelby County class. It'll run from 7:30 to 8, and it'll run every single week until we have completed Norton versus Shelby County, and in a deep dive situation so people understand what Norton versus Shelby County is and why it is so powerful and why it should be used in the lexicon of the language brought out into the public.
John J. Tater.
Oh,
what is it?
Look me up either at jtater2 at yahoo.com or call me at 734-968-4715.
Do you have any other Zooms this week, or is that it?
That's the big one. That's
the big one. Okay.
Big one.
And I would like to encourage you, Mr. Tater, to put this up so that people that are not there can see it online. I would love to see that. And if you want to do that, I'll put the camera, or start the machine up here for you to actually broadcast that live if you'd like, or if you want to put it up later and record it, that's okay. Whatever.
I'm going to try to do a recording. I'll see. I got to talk to Ron and others and see if we can do something like that. Yeah.
I'd love that.
Might be a good idea just to record that half-hour segment.
Yeah, because then you could put it in as a series, and then it's not for people that can't make it. You're enabling them to learn, and you could put a whole series so you can go one to the next and next as kind of a nice little tutorial. I think that's great. And it's like me, I do everything for free here, just because I really want people to learn. This is not where I make money. This is where I try to serve in capacity for the nation. And I think it's important. Every single one of us can do that. So, all right. So here we go. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for John and all of the wonderful learning that we're being able to do here. And I just really feel really humbled to be able to meet people that know things that I don't and are willing to help educate both me, this nation, the world, and to fight to put this nation back together, not as a way to make money, but as a way to serve you and to serve all the people around us. I ask that you would open people's eyes, give them strength in their hearts and courage to do things that they think that they're not able to do, relying on you solely to equip them, to give them everything that they need to move in the direction that you're asking them to go. We love you. We trust you. We know that you're good all the time. We don't have anything to be afraid of. And because you're here. And you're always with us. You're always watching out for us. And you're that good Father that we can walk alongside and learn what we need to learn. And as we walk through this adventure called life, thank you so much for being our friend. You've been a wonderful friend to us, and we want to be a friend to you. In Jesus Christ's precious name we pray. Amen. So there you go. So have a great day, everyone, and know that you're loved. Go to brandenburgforgovernor.com. Oh, this is funny. I got on X yesterday. I decided to start my X account up just a little bit more and post to it. And people were like losing their minds. It's like, look at Brandenburg. She's not conceding with 0.4% of the vote or whatever it was. I didn't even look because the whole thing was a sham. It's like, I got less votes as governor than you did as sheriff for Wayne County. I'm like, that's not even possible. Okay. I was all over the state. So this is one big fat lie, the whole thing. So anyhow, they're like, look at Brandenburg. She's not conceding. I'm not, and I'm the only
one. And I'm not either.
And John and I, but I'm the only one for governor that did not concede before the freaking votes were counted. And John's not conceding either. And so, it's like the way that the majority goes is almost never the right path. It takes people that are willing to stand against the stream, against the main thought without questioning it, and saying, guys, it's time to do things different. We cannot expect to change things by going in the same direction just because we want to be a bunch of cows in a herd being funneled through the gates for slaughter. We have got to think of things differently. We've got to do it differently. And we've got to have the guts to get out there and say, you know what? I don't know how this is going to land, but I'm going to give it everything I have, my best shot. And I refuse to comply. I refuse to concede or capitulate to these liars, cheats, and thieves that are running this nation and the global dynamic with a global crime syndicate. It's going to take you and me and everybody else. Be ornery. Be upset about this. You should be upset about this. We should all be upset about this, to the point where there's so much action that they can't even imagine how many people are jumping on this and saying, not just no, but hell no. And this is why. And we're doing it not for ourselves, for our children, our grandchildren, our posterity of your children, John's children, everybody's children, everybody that's got kids and whatever, and out there, or that has adopted people into their hearts and wants to take care of those that come after us. It's important. And it's a duty all of us have to do, is to look around us and say, I'm not leaving this way. Not a chance. We're going to do it differently. So with that said, God bless you. God bless all those whom you love, and God bless America. Make it a great day. Starts here, here, and here. Don't give up. Don't give up. Keep going. And we'll see you tomorrow and next week with Mr. Tater on Tatar Tuesday.
So long.
See ya.